Hi, hello. In this video, we will understand what is blob storage in detail. So if you can see here, this is the Azure Blob Storage icon, which actually represents the binary format of it, because blob is nothing but it is a binary large object. So that is the representation of the blob storage. You can see here. This is Azure icon for blob storage, right? So yeah, let's go ahead and understand what is blob storage and what is the use case that we use for the blob storage, and what are the different types of blob storage, when to use which one. And what is the significance of using a blob storage in analytics and data engineering aspect of it, right? So before starting the video, so if you are new to the channel and haven't yet subscribed for this channel, please do like, share, and subscribe this for this channel, and also don't forget to press bell button for instant notifications. Let's get started. So let's start understanding what is blob. In the first place, what is the actual definition of blob? By the definition of the blob is it's very simple that it is meant for using meant for storing very large object which are of a binary format. When you say binary format, it is just a zeros and ones. So in the storage disk, when we talk about the hardware, right? So it will be stored in the hardware in the form of binary format. So in that case, it will be not meant for the analytics or analysis, because it is stored in a very cheaper format, right? So that is the whole importance or whole significance behind the scene for the blob. And it can store literally anything. When I say anything, so you can dump anything here, maybe the text files, image files, audio files, video files, or any file formats that you can think of, you can just dump it here. So this is meant for that. And among all of these storage services what Azure provides, so this is the cheapest one. Let's go to the next video and understand the different use cases. So when we talk about use case, when actually we want to go for blob. So when before choosing the any kind of storage, right? So whether you want to go for a blob storage or a data lake storage, or so what kind of storage you want to go in choose in Azure, right? So you need to have the clear understanding of the use cases. So here, if you see, blob can be a option when you're choosing log data. When I say log data, it is like any kind of logging system you want to have, right? So you can just have that logging in this logging file dumped in this, right? So like it may be application log, system log, server log, anything for that matter. And suppose you have any archive, you have a requirement to archive the data. So if there is a data which is less used, so you want to keep a backup of it or archive of it, or the copy of it, right? So you can just use the blob because it's a cheaper solution. And you can go for blob when the data landing layer is as a data landing layer in ELT. So when we talk about ELT, like extract, load, and then transform, which is little different than ETL. So in this case, in any big data onboarding solutions and other projects, so where the data needs to be onboarded to Azure from the on-premise, and then we perform analytics. So in that case, the first layer where we dump the data, so that is called landing layer. That landing layer can be blob storage, because there you don't have any, you're not performing any analytics. It is just for dumping the data. So there you can choose the blob storage. And also you can use for audio video streaming. So this is important. The streaming is important because so the blob storage is actually meant for streaming the large amount of data, because again it's a cheaper solution. And also you can share the file. Suppose if you want to share files across multiple projects, multiple domains, multiple people working in different domains, so you can use it for that purpose, because again it's a cheaper solution, right? So you can keep these files, and you can share the files using a shared access key to whatever users you want in the organization. And also this is used for large volume of IoT data, as I was mentioning streaming, right? So IoT data will be also kind of a streaming data. So for that scenario also, you want to use blob storage to dump the data into it. And definitely the blob is a clear winner when you want to have a cheapest solution across all the Azure storages. As I mentioned, the reason of it being cheaper is it stores the data in a binary format. Right? In the operating system level or in the hardware level, it goes and stores in a zeros and one formats. And it is not recommended for, so we understood what are the use case it is useful, right? But we'll also understand when it is not recommended. So the blob is not recommended when we have analysis, analytics, or reporting kind of scenario. That means if you are having any kind of if you want to perform any kind of transformations, if you want to perform any kind of, if you want to build any reports, right? So if you want to point a Power BI or Tableau kind of dashboards to the blob storage, so that is not recommended, because blob is not meant for that, because it's not optimized for that, right? Blob is optimized for storing the data, streaming the data, only for that purpose, not for transforming and analytics, right? So in that case, there is a option where you can go for a data lake Gen 2. So this we can see in the next video. in further videos coming, upcoming videos, right? And so let's go for the next, where we will see Azure Blob illustration. So where we'll understand what is the how the hierarchically the blob storage is actually organized, right? So here we will create a storage account. As you know, as we learned in the previous videos, we will create a storage account. So this is the first thing, right? Whenever we want to have anything, any Azure storage, right? The first thing is we create a storage account. So this is where we actually get billed by the Azure. And after creating the storage account, inside storage account, we will create a blob containers. Suppose if you want to use a blob, right? So once you create a storage account, you'll be having all things. Suppose as you can see here, once you create a storage account, right, you will having a containers, file shares, queues, tables. So these are just options, but these are not got created by default, right? So when you want to have a blob storage, you have to use the containers here, right? So that is what we call calling as a container here, right? So one blob storage can have multiple containers, a number of containers, and each container will have folders inside it, and each folders can have subfolders again, and also it can each folder can have files also. So if you can observe one point here, like this is like a container, right? So inside container we cannot create one more container. This is a flat hierarchy, right? This is a flat hierarchy, so we cannot have any containers inside containers, but we can have folders inside folders. So this is what we call it as a flat hierarchy. This is a flat hierarchy, right? So please note this. This is important when you want to understand the data lake. So data lake is not flat hierarchy, so that's where that differs from blob storage. So that is a hierarchical file format. So but blob is a flat file format because of this reason. So we cannot have container inside the container. So hope this is clear. Let's see what are the different types of blob storage. So again, blob storage is having different types, three major types, which we call it as a block blob, and a page blob, and append blob. Three types. Let us see one by one. So when we talk about block blob, so block blob is a type of blob where we have to choose it when we have a requirement of no random read and write operations. Say for example, if you want to store a audio video file, right, and if you want to store an OS image file, or you want to store an AXE file or APK file, if you observe this, all these files cannot be read in between, or it cannot be read partially. So they should be read fully. If you read it partially, it doesn't make any sense. You cannot read an EXE file partially. You cannot read an APK file partially. You cannot read a video file partially. You should read it fully. So then only you can have that particular file makes sense for you. In that case, if you see here, there is no random read and write. You should read it completely. So that is a block, complete block. You have to read it. And also when you talk about page blob, so page blob is meant for random read and write. Unlike block blob, it is optimized for that. Suppose if you are having a virtual machine storage, right? So in virtual machine, the virtual machine can be in a page blob. So what happens? You are reading the file in a virtual machine, right? So you are not reading the entire virtual machine. You are just reading a part of a virtual machine. So here, in that case, you can use the page blob. You can think of any other examples also. And coming to the append blob, so append blob is not, it's just for append. So when we talk about append, please note that it is not for updates or deletes. You are just going on appending the data. So that it is optimized for that kind of scenarios. Best example is logging log file. So if you want to have a server log, application log, so you can use the append blob. So where it just logs the logging in a particular file. So in that case, this is the best options to choose among all these three blobs. So hope you can make the clear understanding of what are the different types of blobs here. Now let us come to the Azure portal and let us see how actually these containers look like and the different types of blobs look like, right? So I'm in a container and inside container, right? So I can have different containers. I can have a number of containers created here, right? So each container, I mean, you can choose among these three options. You can choose any of this. If you are creating private, it cannot be accessed outside the private network, right? So for example, I want to just upload a file. So I have already created a container. So one container, as I mentioned, you can create a number of containers here. So if I go to in this container and I try uploading a file. So I want to choose a file from my operating system. I'm just choosing an image file here. So I'll just, if you go advanced, you can just check here. So you can have different types of blob here. You can have you want to store this file in what type, right? You can choose block blob, page blob, append blob. So by this time you might have already understood. So why we want to choose the blob here? I mean, by default it is a block blob, but why you want to choose page blob? Why you want to choose append blob? So you can choose any of the blob here. It doesn't stop you choosing any of this blob type. I can choose any of the blob. But you need to think about use case, right? So when you're talking about performance, when you're talking about application reading this data each and every time, in that case, like it actually makes sense when you talk about the performance, also the cost. It is optimized for those reasons, performance and cost. So when you're thinking about big data scenarios, when you're talking about optimized solutions, right? So in that case, this matters. Okay. So to say by default it is a block blob. I want to store it as a block blob, and so I'll just upload this file. So it has already uploaded. Now if I come back and click on this file, it actually gives a lot of information. So like what is the URL? So it actually basically generates a URL. What is the created time, modified time, and what is the type of it? So whether it is block blob, append blob, what is the size and access tier, right? So many of these details you can just go through, and what is the version, and if you want to edit that file, it comes here, right? And you can generate a SAS token, which is actually meant for sharing the access to multiple users. So now I have taken this URL, right? So this is the URL of that particular file which I uploaded in the blog. So when I just see this, hit this URL, so I'm able to see this image which I uploaded, right? So that is actually the universal URL. So this you can access anywhere from the anywhere from the globe. So if you have this URL, but please note that it should not be a private. Suppose if it is a private, as you can see here, it is not private for that. Now if I see the, because I came back to the blob now, if you can see here, if I just give the not access policy, just a moment, yeah, change access level, right? So now it is a blob anonymous. If I make it private, if I make the blob as a private, so this is access level actually. So if I do this, so then I might not be able to access this blob storage. It gives the error. So that's the difference. If you want to share it, if you are not want to share it, so that is access level. So it's a private, blob, and container. So that is actually the different types of levels. And also we saw like when we are uploading a file, we also saw what are the different types of blob you can choose, right? So hope this is clear. Thanks for watching.